Technology is changing lives everywhere, from cell phones to TVs, computers to voice activation, and now even self-driving cars. We sat down with Astro Teller, who helps lead the future with the project for driverless cars.
I'm Astro Teller, and I am the CEO of a part of Alphabet called X. And my title is actually Captain of Moonshots. And Waymo, the self-driving car company, is a company that came from within X and is now separate from X. It's its own part of Alphabet. Self-driving cars are cars that can drive themselves. You could think of, and I think people misunderstand the project that Waymo is on, to be a project of making cars. But that's not what Waymo is up to. Waymo is trying to make drivers. Waymo is trying to get the cars to do the specific things that people do, to have situational awareness, to understand what's around them, to think about the blind spots, because cars with sensors, just like with people, can't see everything, can't know everything, and have to make good decisions with imperfect information. Well, there's 1.2 million people who die every year in car accidents around the world. So if you could cause cars to drive themselves, and to do that much more safely than people can, and there's a lot of evidence that that will be the case, that would be the equivalent of solving a major disease worldwide. Self-driving cars obviously won't work perfectly on day one, and no responsible company, certainly including Waymo, would put them out in a widespread way until they were safer than people. But there's a big difference between a net positive to society and an absolute positive to society. So we could sit here when none of our friends and family have been hurt and say, if you had any technology that would save 10 lives but cost one, I guess it would probably be immoral not to put that technology out into the world. But that kind of argument can feel hollow to the person who is hurt by the technology. We had always imagined that self-driving cars would be a backup for people, and people could be a backup for the cars. That if the car was confused, people could always take over. But they can't take over unless they're right there with their hands by the wheel and they're paying attention. And people did not pay attention. So this was about 4 years ago. We said, okay, I guess people aren't going to be a backup for the system, and we need to make sure that the thing that we build can take you all the way from point A to point B just at the push of a button. I think it's interesting that people are talking about self-driving cars as though it might not happen, or it might happen a long time from now. But I imagine going back in history to a time when there were some, but not very many, automobiles on the road, and someone asking the question, do you think this horseless carriage thing is going to catch on? I mean, carriages with horses are pretty popular. People seem pretty comfortable with that. I think we're probably going to stick with the horses. Yeah, it creates a lot of poop in the cities, but, you know, that's just how it is. No, and there's just, when we get to 10 years from now and look backwards at the idea that there was this mechanical connection between a wheel in your hands and whether the car went that way or that way, it's going to seem crazy to people in just 10 years.